Hello, welcome to Grandpa's World, and this is Grandpa. There's not too much that's free these days, but it is free to you to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and do that now before we get started, because today we're going to learn about the true stories behind children's nursery rhymes. So let's start with Baa Black Sheep. The earliest version I could find dates back to 1730. This nursery rhyme seems to be about money. The king needed money to pay for his religious wars, and wool brought in a lot of money because everybody used it for clothes and blankets. So he decided to put a tax on it. The taxation began in the year 1275 and ended in the 1500s. Well, as the saying goes, a third from my master, which was the king, a third from my dame, which was the church, a third for the little boy that lives down the lane, being the sheep farmer. At the end of it, as you can tell, the sheep farmer's done all the work for not much money. Three Blind Mice. This story is about three blind mice, and this one is about Queen Mary I. She has three Protestant bishops. These three bishops conspired to have Queen Mary overthrown. She found out and burned the three bishops at the stake. Georgie Porgie. King George IV ruled the United Kingdom in 1762, and he was very heavy, probably from eating all the puddings and pies. It seems that even though the king was married, he liked an actress named Mary Robinson. Well, after a while he grew tired of her, and he dumped her and made her cry. King George liked watching the boxing matches, but the sport wasn't very popular, so he didn't want anybody to know. This one time a boxer died during the match. Because the authorities were called in, King George ran away and hid so they wouldn't know that he'd been there. Humpty Dumpty. During the English Civil War of 1642, a Humpty was a cannon. Well, one day they hauled it over to a hole in the castle wall, but the king's enemies shot down that very wall, causing the Humpty, or cannon, to fall. When it fell, it broke into several pieces that couldn't be put back together again. Mary, Mary, quite contrary. Queen Mary I was an English queen. She reigned from 1553 to 1558. She had hundreds of Protestants executed for no other reason except for they was Protestant, just because she wanted a Catholic country. Oh, and by the way, cockle shells and silver bells were torture devices, not flowers. The Pied Piper. In 1264, the village of Hamelin really did lose most of their children. In 1300, they put this inscription up in their town. On the day of John and Paul, 130 children in Hamelin went to Calvary and were brought through all kinds of danger to the Copen Mountains and lost. No one knows what happened. It is so strange how they all disappeared. Perhaps they were lost to the Crusades. The practice back then was to send children out to fight in the Holy Wars. Ring around the Rosie. This nursery rhyme is about the Black Death. It refers to the rash that covered the sick. The posies are what the people put in the pockets to cover up the smell of rotting skin. This plague killed over 10% of the world's population. They tried to kill off the disease by burning the dead bodies, so ashes, ashes. All around the Mulberry bush. In 1840, the governor of England ran the Wakefield prison as part of the women prisoners' morning routine were to exercise every day. It just so happened they exercised around the mulberry tree and made up this rhyme. Yankee Doodle Dandy. And it was 1775 and the War of Independence was being fought. The English came up with this rhyme to make fun of us. What it means is that they think that we are so stupid that if we put a feather in our hat, we would think we were as sophisticated as the Europeans. To the English, a surprise, we liked it! It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring. He went to bed and hit his head and couldn't get up in the morning. It's a warning, if you hit your head, it's not a good idea to go to bed, because you might not get up in the morning. Some of these nursery rhymes and stories and songs are so old no one can be sure of where they came from. Well, that's it for Grandpa's World right now. Thanks for everything. Don't forget to hit all your like buttons and subscribe buttons, and if you want to know more buttons. Thanks and have a good day.